Quite simply, I'm running for office because Chief Standing Bear and his wife approached me and asked me to consider running for Congress. And I believe that even though this government is a three-branch system of government, even though there are many moving parts, that we're all still on the same team, which is the Osage Nation. And Chief Standing Bear needs a competent, reliable, trustworthy person on the Congress who can take the ball and run the ball down the court to accomplish his objectives. He does not need any more Congress people who might drop the ball, hide the ball, run the ball the other direction. And if I'm elected, that's what I intend to do, is to work with the executive branch and the other branches of government to accomplish those mandates. I graduated from high school in the Wichita, Kansas area, a very large high school near the top of my class. I then went to Harvard College, and I graduated from Harvard College with a magna cum laude recommendation. After Harvard, I entered the workforce. I had promised Harvard in my application materials that if I were selected to attend Harvard, which only 2 people are selected per year to attend Harvard from the state of Kansas, I promised that if I was one of those 2 people that I would use my education for the betterment of tribes. And so after I graduated, I sought employment in Indian country, and my first job was with the Oto-Missouri tribe. That was back in 1999. And I was asked by the Oto-Missouri tribe if I would accept one of 2 open positions. One was court clerk and one was housing clerk. And I immediately said I wanted to be the court clerk because I always had an interest in law, and the tribal executive director at the time, his name was Rick Landers, he said, well, let me tell you, the housing director makes $10 an hour and the court clerk makes $7 an hour. So I accepted the job within the housing department. Within a few months, I became the housing director. I then went to work for another tribe in Michigan, the Pokagon Band of Potawatomi Indians, where I served as their housing director. During my time as a housing director, I helped acquire a land base for the tribe, specifically for housing, and we set about constructing new units, also helping pair tribal members with other housing resources, mortgage loans, outside financing, and improving the housing stock and opportunities for those members. I then attended law school at the University of Tulsa Law School, where my trajectory was always to go back into the Indian world and specifically into Indian housing. The first tribe that hired me after I graduated from law school was the Oto-Missouri tribe, where I had worked as a housing director. Since that time, I have served as many as 10 or 12 tribal governments in Oklahoma. I've worked on housing projects, I've worked on transactional financing projects for casinos. We have built housing developments throughout the state of Oklahoma. We've worked on large infrastructure projects, wastewater treatment projects. We've worked on litigation and various other matters since that time. I have a certificate in oil and gas and natural resources law from the University of Tulsa Law School, as well as a certificate in Native American law. I'm the president of the Osage County Bar Association here locally, and I'm also admitted to practice law in the United States Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit, the Muskogee Creek Nation Tribal Court, Osage Tribal Court, Cherokee Nation Tribal Court, and various other judicial forums. You know, I don't talk in general terms. I don't mention things like sovereignty and economic development. Those are just words. Sovereignty is a word in the Black's Law Dictionary. Economic development, that's 2 words. I look at concrete projects and ideas. If you ask any of these candidates who use the word sovereignty so frequently and loosely, ask them what that means, and they may not be able to tell you. But I can tell you that sovereignty means making your own laws and being governed by those laws, having the ability to determine what projects and activities you will devote your governmental resources and privileges toward. And I have been out in the field, I've been in the trench, I've been building housing developments, building infrastructure projects, acquiring land, generating income for tribes. I've been out doing that hard labor. And everything that I have done through my entire life since I was 6 years old, and I met Chief Tinker at a campaign function in Elgin, Kansas. Ever since that time, I have made decisions to prepare myself for carrying these responsibilities for the Osage people. And I have the education and the experience and the expertise to help Chief Standing Bear move the nation forward. And I would encourage anyone to visit or read about any of the projects that I have actually helped come to fruition, such as the Ikantunchka housing development in the Seminole Nation jurisdiction. That's a 25-unit project that we developed with low-income housing tax credits. For the absentee Shawnee tribe, we developed a 15-unit complex for elderly tribal members. For the Sac and Fox Nation, we helped to develop an apartment complex called the Wikiyapi Apartments. We helped the Creek Nation acquire the Riverwalk Terrace property in Jinx. We've done large financing transactions for casinos, including the Kickapoo Casino. And along with Chief Standing Bear, when he was in private practice about 6 years ago, we defended a tribe that was facing a National Indian Gaming Commission enforcement action, where the consequences potentially were closure of the casino and millions of dollars worth of fines. I defended the only two enforcement actions brought by the National Indian Gaming Commission during that period of time, and we defended those cases successfully. So I have actual results behind those ideas. And another project which I'm very proud of is a dialysis clinic that we are in the process of launching for another tribe, and I would love to have a dialysis clinic here for our Osage people, and that is a number one priority of my service to the nation. So I would just thank you for the opportunity and encourage everyone to vote.